I never expected that one night by the sea would change how I saw my own son. I went to the ocean that night searching for peace, but instead, I found something in my son's eyes I can never unsee. Before I tell you everything, I want to know, where are you watching from right now? I read every comment, and I love knowing the little towns, the big cities, the quiet places you call home. And if you've ever had a moment that shook the ground beneath your feet, hit like, drop a word below. Because tonight, I'm taking you to mine. Stay with me until the end. Because in the last 5 minutes of this night, something happened that changed how I see love, family, and myself. Forever. It began with the sound of waves slapping the pier, the salt wind curling through the open window, and the quiet, heavy kind of silence you only notice right before everything changes. The March sky over our harbour drained from peach to cobalt. The final thread of daylight stitched to the horizon like a seam coming loose. Daniel, my 39-year-old son, drove with one hand loose on the wheel and one resting near the gear shift. Posture easy but attention vigilant, the way people drive when they are trying to protect more than a passenger. We were heading back to our seaside town for the first family gathering since his father died 3 years earlier. Wind came through the cracked window, bringing the clean bite of salt and the green smell of seaweed. Gulls tilted like pale commas over the water. Everything looked the same. Bait shop sign half lit, the weathered pier, the lighthouse blinking out its slow reassurance. Yet I felt like a house whose furniture had been gently rearranged. Familiar, but not quite right. I can take the wheel for the last stretch, I offered. Mom, he said, and his mouth tipped into a smile that had grown rarer as he aged. You've been carrying everybody for a long time. Let me do this one. His words found a hollow place in me, an inner room I kept swept and locked, the one I didn't invite anyone into. I looked out at the ocean instead and told myself that grieving is nothing more than teaching your body a new alphabet for the same old word. I'd booked 2 rooms at the Harbour View Inn because I thought that was kindness, to him, to me, to whatever boundaries feel truest when the heart is tender. But at the desk, a boy with a summer job and a winter complexion paled. I'm so sorry, he said, fingers jittering over the keyboard. We've had a mix-up. I only have 1 room left. He waited like someone braced for thunder. Daniel touched my elbow. It's fine. Really. The elevator creaked us up to the 3rd floor, where the hallway smelled like lemon cleaner and ocean. Our room held 2 beds, a desk, and a tall mirror framed in dark wood. Its old glass nicked with faint silver foxing, like memory embedded in surface. The window framed the pier. A boat rocked its patient rhythm against its rope. In that rhythmic bob, I felt something loosen inside me that had been held too tight. I caught my reflection as I crossed the room and, out of habit, smoothed wind-tossed hair. I wasn't trying to be anyone, only trying to be presentable to myself. Hungry? Daniel asked, dropping his duffel near the window. The starving. I smiled because the word felt big in my mouth, like desire for something uncomplicated. We ordered clam chowder for him, grilled scallops for me. While we waited, we talked about the cousins I hadn't seen in years, the newly painted lighthouse, whether the boardwalk taffy shop could possibly still be open. He asked about my knees and told me I should walk the pier more. He has my husband's caretaking instinct, but he wields it more gently. When the food came, we ate on our beds with bowls steady in our laps, a nature documentary murmuring from the television. The narrator's voice was warm and bored, the kind you forget even while you're listening. I won't remember the whales moving beneath ice, but I will remember the way Daniel laughed, low and unguarded, as if his guard had simply grown tired of standing. I laughed back, and for a beat too long, he watched me. By the time we finished, the lighthouse's beam swept its patient, slow arc across the window. I rose to stretch, felt the hitch of a long day along my spine, and caught my reflection again. My blouse had shifted at my waist. I tugged it down without thinking. When I turned, he wasn't watching the TV, his gaze was on me. It lasted only a second, the kind of moment you could dismiss if you were determined to. I could have decided it was nothing, tiredness, coincidence, light. Instead, I decided to feel the small tremor that ran through me and simply notice. What? I asked lightly, shaping my voice into gentleness. He blinked, startled. "You just look happy tonight," he said. "It's nice to see. It's nice to be here with you." I meant it more than I meant most things that day, but there was a flicker behind his smile, a ripple beneath the surface. I have learned to honor ripples. We spoke of small things, whether the inn still put saltwater caramels on the front desk, whether the new clerk would last the summer, whether the gulls sounded the same as they did when he was small and he'd tilt his head like a question to listen. Eventually, he said he'd shower first, the words catching on something unsaid, and disappeared into a cloud of steam. Water struck tile with a rhythm like rain. I sat at the old desk and began to wipe off my makeup, each cotton pad marked by the day's insistence that women be presentable. That mirror held everything. My life layered back at me, stretched skin where laughter and tears had made their map, eyes that had learned to soften instead of harden, hair that had silvered at the temples like frost along fence wire. The shower cut off. The bathroom door opened a fraction, then paused. In the mirror's surface, transparent and truthful, I saw Daniel watching me from that narrow, bright seam. He didn't know I could see him, but I could. I didn't move. The moment felt as light as foam and as heavy as the anchor rope outside. He withdrew. I kept cleaning my face, hands trembling, not from fear, but from recognition. Some threshold had appeared where I didn't expect one. I don't believe feelings are wrong. I believe they are weather. What we do in the weather is our character. When he came out, steam unspooling behind him, he was shirtless, a towel wrapped loose at his hips. He stopped mid-step when he saw me looking directly at him. There are 1,000 sentences that can end a moment. There are extra towels. Did you pack your toothbrush? Want the window open? For the first time in a long time, I refused to be practical. The refusal felt like a spine unfolding. He crossed to his bed and sat at the edge, elbows braced on his knees, head bowed like someone in church who doesn't know the right prayer. "I didn't mean to make you uncomfortable," he said, voice hoarse around honesty. "Sometimes I see you, and I don't know how to make sense of it." "I'm not upset," I answered. The truth sounded steadier than I felt. His eyes lifted, red around the rims from too much holding. You're not. We've both been holding things in, I said, and my words felt like I was laying down a heavy bag, one that had left a bright dent in my shoulder. He rubbed his palms over his thighs as if trying to smooth down something unruly. When Dad died, he said, and paused to gather himself. Something shifted. I started seeing you not just as my mother, but as a woman. And I hated myself for that. The confession arrived like surf against the rocks. Not violent, but relentless. I thought of the day my husband's heart stopped. How quiet looks like mercy until you realize its absence. I thought of Daniel fixing things, hinges, leaks, to keep his hands busy enough that his heart wouldn't break. Sometimes we all use the wrong tools. Feelings aren't wrong, I said softly. They simply exist. What we choose to do with them, that's where the story is. He searched my face as if my expression might offer him a map. It's not just tonight, he said slowly. Last summer, when we fixed the fence and you laughed. Aunt Nora's wedding when we danced, and I couldn't stop noticing the way the light held you. He shook his head, ashamed and not ashamed. I keep thinking you must be lonely, that no one sees you anymore. But I do. I always have. Something in me shivered, the good kind, like heat finding a limb that had fallen asleep. I crossed my arms around myself, not to hide, but to hold. You've always been my son first, I said, because the bedrock must be named. That won't change, but tonight feels more complicated than grief. He nodded, as if I'd named the creature pacing the room. We sat in a silence that wasn't empty. The harbor's beam swung across our window. The air conditioner hummed its small, faithful song. Time became a net. Everything landed in it. I reached for the remote and muted the TV. Our breathing got louder. It's startling what the absence of noise can uncover. Are you scared? I asked. Yes, he said, without the performance of bravado. But not of you. I don't know what this means, I admitted. Or where it goes. Me neither. He laced his fingers, then unlaced them. But I know I've never been this honest with you. He said my name then. Not Mom, but Evelyn. And it went through me like the first warm tide after winter. He looked up as if asking a question he didn't want me to answer. I stood and walked toward the mirror again, letting it frame me head to waist. The woman in the glass wasn't past tense. She was a person mid-choosing. Daniel came to stand behind me, near enough that I felt his warmth, far enough that I could own the distance. In the mirror, I saw the way he looked at me. It wasn't hunger. It wasn't pity. It was recognition. There is a difference. This isn't about anything physical, I said quietly. He nodded. It's about being seen. I haven't felt seen in a long time, I confessed. I've felt respected, depended upon, useful, but not seen. His reflection met mine. I see you, for everything you are. I reached my hand back an inch, and my fingers found his. We didn't clasp. We tested. The slightest pressure, like stepping on a bridge you're not sure can hold your weight. It held. Do you want me to give you space? He asked. No, I said, because I had spent 3 years drowning in too much space. Just sit with me. We sat side by side at the foot of my bed, our knees almost touching. The lamplight softened the room's edges until the world looked capable of kindness. I rested my head very lightly against his shoulder, and it was not the comfort of a child. It was the consolation of two people who had each been brave in the wrong ways and were trying to learn the right ones. We spoke of small things to keep the large thing from tipping the room. The gulls that steal fries by the boardwalk. The old taffy shop his father swore made the worst coffee and the best caramel. The way you can hear a storm a day before it arrives if you listen with your whole body. Beneath all that ran a quieter current. I felt it braided with relief and ache, a rope strong enough to hold us both. You've carried us for so long, he said. You learn from the best, I replied, and then winced at my own pride. I had carried us. I had also kept my needs so quiet they forgot how to speak. He told me about those first months after the funeral, how he would carry an extra jacket to the grocery store without thinking, because for 36 years his father wore a particular jacket when the wind came sharp, and some habits don't die with a person. He told me how at night he would dream of our kitchen table, and in the dream every chair was taken, even the broken one we'd put on the curb last summer. In the dream no one spoke, but no one left. Loss is sometimes just a crowded room where nobody knows what to say. Listening, I thought about the day I met his father at the bait shop. The way he held up a fishing line and said, "Deadpan. You look like you know more than the rest of us." I thought of the night before Daniel was born. My husband asleep with one hand flung over his eyes like a half-mast flag, and me counting the seconds between contractions while the lighthouse flickered in the distance like a neighbor leaving a porch light on. I thought of the day we taught Daniel to ride a bike down Harbour Street. My husband running behind, one hand on the seat, then letting go without telling him, so that Daniel learned, in the space of a single block, both terror and trust. Memory is a mirror, too. It shows you your past and asks whether you can bear to see your present. I keep wondering what happens tomorrow, I murmured, afraid to disturb the fragile peace we'd made. Will we go to the gathering? We drive home? What? Pretend we never said any of this? He leaned his head against mine. We go back to being who we are, he said, but maybe more honestly. Will it change things? I asked. Yes, he said simply, but not in a way that breaks us. We let the silence do some work. Outside, a truck rattled over the boards by the pier. Someone laughed in the hallway, the particular laugh of people who have never once been careful with their joy. The old clock on the nightstand ticked with the diligent mercy. He helped me lie down when I got tired. Age is honest. And tucked the blanket along my sides the way fathers do for toddlers and sons forget, and then remember. He crossed to his bed. We didn't say goodnight. We didn't need to. Morning woke us with sunlight thin as silk through the curtains and the little cries of gulls. We both smiled without speaking, a shared expression that said, "We are carrying this together now." We dressed, packed, and walked out into a day bright enough to believe in. On the way downstairs, he stopped to read the framed black and white photograph of the inn when it first opened. Fishermen standing in boots, women in skirts and windblown hair. The whole town gathered, like a family photograph you wish you'd been born into. We ate lobby muffins and drank coffee that tasted like humility. As we stepped onto the sidewalk, the sea met us in that way it has always met us, steady, tireless. The same, and not the same. At the gathering, the cousins told the same stories they always tell, and we laughed in the right places. Someone passed out paper plates. Someone else argued about whether the bluefish run would be early. The world is good at continuing. The world is terrible at acknowledging the ways we have changed while it wasn't looking. I watched Daniel pass his baby cousin back to her mother with tenderness precise as a stitch. I watched him refill Aunt May's tea as if he were doing more than adding liquid to a cup. I understood for the first time, maybe, that seeing someone is a vocation. No certificate, no ceremony, just devotion. When we drove home that night, the sky wore its constellations like buttons. Daniel rolled the window down and said nothing for a long time. I didn't press. There are conversations the heart needs to have with the wind before it can speak to another person. "Mom," he said eventually, as we passed the dark mouth of the bait shop road. "If I say the wrong thing, forgive me. I'm learning how to talk about what's true without hurting what's tender." "That's all I'm trying to do," I said. "I think that's all most of us are trying to do." Back at the inn, we paused in the lobby. The lamp on the desk warmed the room to a kindness that felt almost theatrical. He looked at me in a way that didn't ask for anything. I reached and squeezed his hand. There are touches that contain entire letters you never mailed. In our room, I stood before the mirror again. Morning had made a new woman of me. Or perhaps I had done it myself by telling the truth in a low voice and letting it be heard. I thought about boundaries, how people talk about them like fences. I think they are more like shorelines. The tide comes in, the tide goes out, and in the wet sand you can see where everything has been. The line shifts, but the land remains. That is how I felt, changed at the edges, certain at the center. That evening, we walked the boardwalk because my knees were feeling brave. We bought a small bag of taffy, and he chose flavors his father would have hated. And we laughed at the uselessness of such small rebellions and loved them anyway. When we reached the end of the pier, the wind lifted my hair, and I felt young not because of vanity, but because I remembered how to stand at the edge of something and trust myself not to fall in. He asked if I wanted to keep going or turn back. I said, "Let's stand here a minute longer." And we did. Not speaking, our shoulders nearly touching, the sea writing its silent sentences in foam at our feet. That night, no mirror was needed. The line had been drawn in kindness and would hold. We sat and read in companionable quiet, the way married couples sometimes do when they have learned that love has rooms solitude can live in. When I turned out the light, he whispered across the dark, "You deserve to be seen, always." I pressed my hand to my collarbone, where words sometimes live after they are spoken. Before sleep, I let memory spool out one more scene. Daniel at 7, bringing me a gull's feather, saying, "It's for your hair," and tucking it clumsily above my ear. Daniel at 13, furious at his best friend, asking if forgiveness counted if you didn't feel it yet. Daniel at 21, leaving for a city and leaving behind a boy I didn't know how to mourn because he wasn't dead. He was just elsewhere. Daniel at 39, sitting on the edge of a bed and telling the truth, trusting me to hold it in him. I had never been prouder. Pride is an odd word here, I know, but I was proud that we had not lied to each other about our humanity. The next morning, the innkeeper slid a small cloth bag across the counter. "From the older lady who bakes the muffins," he said. Inside was a note, the shaky hand of someone who had already paid out a lot of years. "You are doing fine. Keep your eyes soft. The world needs softness." There were 2 lemon cookies. We ate them in the car, and I told Daniel I hoped to live long enough to forget hurt quickly and remember sweetness instantly. He said, "You already do, most of the time." On our last night in town, I wrote a letter to myself, the kind I used to write in college when I thought adulthood was a place, not a practice. I listed what I knew. I know I want to be honest and kind at the same time. I know I can stand at a mirror and recognize the person looking back without apology. I know love has many shapes, and some of them are not meant to be acted upon, but are meant to be respected, held, and given a room in the heart with a window and a chair. I know I am still allowed to want to be seen. I sealed the letter and tucked it in my suitcase like a small vote for my future. On the drive away from the ocean, Daniel reached for the radio and found the oldies station by instinct. A song from the year I graduated high school came on, and for a few miles, I remembered the exact pattern of freckles on the boy who taught me to parallel park. I remembered what it felt like to be full of unspent tenderness. Then I remembered I was still full of it, and that tenderness doesn't have an expiration date. It changes costumes, that's all. Back home, the house smelled faintly of lemon oil and thyme. I stood in our kitchen and placed my keys in the bowl shaped like a scallop shell. I could feel the outlines of the mirror in my body like a new organ, something that would hum when I forgot myself. Daniel set my suitcase by the stairs, and without making a ceremony of it, hugged me. Not brief, not lingering, just right. "Call me if the wind starts howling tonight," he said, which is how he says, "Call me if the old ache gets loud." "I will," I promised. "And you call me if you forget how to speak gently to yourself." He nodded. At the door, he paused and said, "I meant it. You deserve to be seen." "I know," I said, and I did. The knowing sat where my fear used to sit. After he left, I walked upstairs to our bedroom and stood at my own mirror, less antique, less storied, but just as frank. I touched the place at my throat where his words had landed. I imagined a shoreline, and in the damp sand the tracks of gulls and my son's feet returning, again and again. Not to the same place exactly, but to the same coast. I cannot control tides. I can only choose where I stand. Maybe you're wondering what happened next. The answer is ordinary and holy. We went on. We texted pictures of the sky to each other when it looked like spilled paint. We fixed the squeaky back door. We went to the farmer's market where the woman with the honey stand calls everyone darling. And I let her call me that because some words are too sweet to argue with. We told the truth in small doses and large. And we treated our honesty like a lighthouse. A signal, not a weapon. If you've stayed with me to this point, thank you. Stories like this aren't tidy. They're tide-marked, layered, human. If they stirred something in you, I'd love to hear it below. Sometimes a stranger's sentence is the handrail you didn't know you needed. And if you found any part of this evening by the sea familiar, consider sharing this with someone who understands shorelines. It helps more than you know. I used to think the ocean existed to teach us about depth. Now I believe it exists to teach us about return. The water goes out. The water comes back. We stand at the edge and learn to be changed by what touches us without being swept away. That night at the Harbourview Inn didn't cross a line. It traced one, not a fence, but a shore, alive, shifting, true. And once seen, it cannot be unseen. We deserve to be seen, always.